Support WrestleTalk!
Be kind to each other in the comments. We've got a new bumper there. Be kind to each other in the comments, live chat. We know you're wonderful. Say it to each other more. Yeah. Did Alexa Bliss blind... Sorry, that was just my echo going off. Did she blind Randy Orton at the end of last night's episode of Raw? And was it awful? Bit of a loaded question. We could ask, was it good? Alexa, stop. She said she's not sure. She doesn't know whether it was awful or not. I'm Mr. Davis. I'm joined for the first time in 2021. Lukewarm Luke Owen. How's it feel to be back?
It feels great to be back. Very happy to be here. But I didn't. I've not watched Raw for 2 whole weeks. 2 gloriously beautiful weeks where I have not had to watch Raw. And this was not a fun one to come back to.
Do you want me to catch you up on a few things that have happened in the short time you've been away?
Well, Goldberg's back. I noticed that from this show. Goldberg is back and he's going to be at the Royal Rumble. And I think that's broadly it.
Adam Pearce is challenging Roman Reigns for the Blue Universal Championship on SmackDown at the Royal Rumble.
You say that, but I heard they're cancelling the Royal Rumble.
Whole thing.
The whole...
And Ric Flair's horny and back as a weekly character.
Awesome. Great. But it wasn't just Legends one night. It was Legends forever, I guess.
Oh, yeah. So the main talking point from last night's episode, and there's a few, mostly, of course, the sort of extenuating circumstances WWE found them in. There has been a reported coronavirus outbreak, not just in WWE, but amongst other companies as well. And it looks like it's going to affect a lot of stuff, at least in the short term. The biggest name, probably one of the biggest names that could come up with a positive case, was Drew McIntyre. He was originally meant to fight Randy Orton in the main event of this show. That was already announced, but they had to pull it. The whole show, it seems, had to be rewritten. You had a lot of people pulling double duty. So you'd have Jeff Hardy, Keith Lee and Sheamus, Matt Riddle. They all wrestled twice, back to back, just to sort of pad out the time.
Which was, I found to be a very odd decision because WWE, they looked at this and were like, oh no, Smeg, we've actually got a really short, small talent pool that we could use from. We're going to have to make them wrestle twice. I wonder if there was one dissenting voice that said, should we just let AJ Styles and Drew Gulak go 20 minutes? They're like, no, that has to go 90 seconds. Make Jeff Hardy wrestle twice. Matt Riddle, Bobby Lashley, do you want to get that going to be longer? No, that's 2 minutes. Make him wrestle twice.
Asuka. How about Raw Women's Champion Asuka? She could have a match.
So apparently, Sean said, I was listening to the Fightful review, and he said it's unknown what the where Asuka is at the moment. They don't know if she's injured or anything like that. But yeah, that's why she wasn't on TV this week.
Well, she was on last week's show. But anyway, there was a lot of rewrites. But one thing that wasn't rewritten, I'm pretty sure this was always the scheduled end to the show. They just went through a new route to get there because it was pre-recorded, because it was freaking insane. And you couldn't do it live. So Randy Orton was meant to face Drew McIntyre, but oh no, we haven't got him. To their credit, I thought they pulled Triple H out of the bag quite well. But then it was sort of a bait and switch thing where they never really had a proper main event. Triple H dropped Orton on the announcer's desk, then got a sledgehammer out from underneath the ring. 5 minutes. 4 minutes of that was entrance, and then the lights turn off Fiend style.
Yeah, they started to turn off, and Triple H sort of he noticed it, but didn't really pay much attention to it. And he pulled out the old sledgehammer, and then he goes to step into the ring, and all of a sudden, the sledgehammer is on fire.
Cool visual.
Yeah, it was a cool visual. Yeah, I thought he'd set it on fire at first. I thought he was doing it as is this symbolic? But it turns out, when I was, spoke to people, no, it was Alexa Bliss that made it on fire.
Alexa fists.
I did not pick up on that whatsoever. But no.
I thought it might be because there was no shot of him pouring gasoline on it. That would have been much cooler. I thought he might have a button.
Just a little,
like a lighter, like a really extravagant lighter.
Well, you get those lighters, don't you? Like the little gun lighters for doing gas hobs and things like that. But yeah, and then the lights went fully out. He just disappeared. He Thanos'd into midair, and then Alexa Bliss was standing there, and she threw a Hadouken and blinded Randy Orton in the face. And that was how the show went off the air. I wrote in my notes, word for word, I'm too old to watch this show. And that's how I felt when the show finished. I'm too old to be watching this.
Did you sort of sigh and go, I'm getting too old for this S word?
Yeah, no, I mean more just like, oh, I'm gonna have to watch this again next week because that's that's my job. But yeah, it was I was not a fan of this, but I would say that the reason why I'm probably not a fan of this is because I'm not invested in this storyline anyway. But I understand, we went through the comments on the WWE's YouTube video. People seem really into this. So I think it is a case of just like, it's not that this is rubbish. It's just, it's not for me and I'm not into this. But I think that people really are digging this.
Yeah, it's interesting because I felt the same. I thought, like, even as a supernatural story, is this a good supernatural story? I don't think it is. I'm not. The whole Randy Orton Fiend Bliss feud has not been that good. I don't think. We all, not for us at least. And maybe it's good for younger viewers. I can't do that. I can't put my head back in like an adult mind back watching The Undertaker or Kane when he was doing all his supernatural stuff.
Yeah, well, we said this during TLC. Like,
exactly.
Hannah, like her kids were watching this, and they were they didn't care about anything else on the show, but they were like enraptured by the Inferno match at the end.
But we said this from the start with the Fiend's debut back in 2019. The real power of the character and the appeal came from the idea that it wasn't supernatural.
No, exactly.
It was just a man who was broken. And his very psyche is fractured into two opposing parts, Bray Wyatt and The Fiend. And as soon as you start, he can appear in the ring because I can explain that away. It's mind games, lights come on and off. But when other people start to disappear, when other people start to appear and all this fire stuff, it was not for me. I didn't get the sense I'm too old for this because I've seen plenty more stupid. But I just had too many questions, and I thought it played very goofily.
Well, the other side of this as well that I don't think many people have brought up is that we're building to an Inferno match we've already had. Like we are once again booking this feud backwards. This feud has started with the fire match and is now carrying on this fire motif. Are we going to just build towards a regular match? Because surely you want to do all of this fire stuff and then be like, and now we're going to have an Inferno match.
Well, that might have been the plan originally. Remember that first burning angle, the first fire angle, was the go home show. And then it was very late in the day where they were like, nah, make it a fire match at TLC. And now they're if that was just a straight up match and now you get all the fire build, that makes total sense. But no, maybe they can build to an even more fire match. And I'm not even being sarcastic when I say that, because you can do a cinematic concept to it. Fiend's character is of that style. Fiend and Orton have had a lot of cinematic stuff this year, it feels like, or last year as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, in the remarkable reaction to this, because it was definitely the biggest thing on the show. Drew admitting he's got COVID, I think is huge as well, but that's, not storyline based, it's real based. Biggest storyline point of the show. And it has done remarkably well on the YouTube clips. 1.2 million views.
Whoa.
In its first 10 hours.
And that was like 200,000 when I got up this morning. So like, like 6 o'clock this morning when I looked at that, it was like 200,000. Now is it like 1 million? That's huge. You said it was like the number 2 trending video on all of YouTube.
Let me click on it now and find out. Yeah, when we looked at it in the morning, it was number 2 trending. Now it's number 4. in all of YouTube. So, and 38,000 thumbs up, 1.5 thousand thumbs down. A lot of the comments are positive. I saw on Reddit, the reaction was also generally positive, but it was more of an ironic kind, like it's super effective. Hadouken. Alexa's got fire powers now. So generally when WWE has success with a YouTube clip, they equate it to a good story. We saw this a lot with Aaliyah Mysterio in the Rey Mysterio storyline and Buddy Murphy and all that stuff. Any thumbnail with Aaliyah on it did way better than other videos. So they started pushing Aaliyah more. And that makes total sense. You can't argue with those numbers.
Nope.
But back to just before we get into the hyper chats for your opinions, remember WrestleTalk.com/support. We'll read out every single one of them before the end of the show. I don't like it.
Yeah, and it's the same with the Inferno match at TLC. Like, it wasn't for me. I thought the ending was incredibly goofy. I thought Bray Wyatt setting a mannequin on fire looked a bit crap. And it's, WWE wanted to, like they always say, we make movies, and I think they make bad movies sometimes. And this was just another example of it's a bad movie. And as much as I love a good bad movie, this isn't for me. It's not the storyline I'm most invested in on Raw, which, I mean, in the sort of the grand scheme of things, I'm not invested in a lot of the stories on Raw at the moment. Is it the one I'm less invested in Jeff Hardy versus Elias? But
oh, come on. There's loads worse on Raw.
Oh, there's way worse. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I'm not saying the Fire feud is in any way good or to my taste, but it is by far not the worst thing on Raw.
Oh, we'll get to the Charlotte stuff. But yeah, it's not for me. So I don't know if I would go as far as to call it awful, because I can see that it's effective, right? I can see that it is working for a lot of people, but for me personally, it's not working.
I guess, when do you make the call? YouTube, you can't discount YouTube views.
Nope.
But if it has no real effect on the TV ratings, do you still do it because it's getting big numbers on YouTube?
I mean, I guess so, because that's one of their metrics that they measure, right? Like Vince always says in the investors calls, TV ratings are down, but look how good our YouTube numbers are. And we're counting YouTube numbers and Facebook plays and stuff on Twitter. They count all of their people under contract, their follower counts. They count within the WWE follower count total, right? So I think they just all look at this and be like, yeah, this is working. People are really into this. This is a good metric for us to follow. I mean, they're probably going to do quite bad in the ratings this week anyway, because they're up against a college football game that was going to do really well, which is why they booked Drew versus Randy in the first place. And I think it says a lot about WWE that their replacement for Drew versus Randy was Randy versus Triple H, because there's no one else that's a star that will make people stick around and watch. So they were like, well, Smeg, we've got to pull out the Triple H guns, I guess. Put a t-shirt on, mate.
Well, I think it's safe to say we're getting a sequel to this terrible movie that neither of us like, because it's so successful on YouTube. But let's see what you guys think. Remember, WrestleTalk.com/support. Get your hyper chats in there. Marcel Arts. Hey, Waldmeister King here, of course. How do you like those apples? Just wanted to say that fireballs is a totally legit foreign object since the 70s or even longer. Even Cornette has no problem with them. And by the way, this is my first super chat message. Hooray! Oh, thank you. Long time Patreon.
It is, yeah. I mean, I don't think has anyone said this is a new thing. Fireballs have been around for forever.
So I think I know what Marcel is saying there, because you can have people come into the ring and they can do a fireball, and it's like a legit weapon. It's not a supernatural weapon. I think the problem with this fireball, it was very much presented as Bliss has firepower.
Yes, this wasn't flash paper. This was I've shot a fire. I am Super Mario, and I've got the fire flower, and I'm shooting a fireball at you.
Oh, I guess we should also ask. So Orton's going to be blind next week.
Well, that's it, right? Because he was rolling around in the ring, and the commentators would be like, "Oh my god, I can't believe what Alexa Bliss just did to him. He is definitely blind now, right?" You have to get those goggles out again so he can see in the dark.
I bet he's like, "Why didn't I wear the welding goggles?" They were appropriate here. So Bliss has posted on Instagram with that caption with an eye for an eye. And I said it in my review earlier. I was just like, frickin' get your thematic tone consistent. Because this is, yes, it is a revenge story, but you just did an eye versus an eye storyline very literally in July or June. This is a fire story.
Yeah.
Make it about you. You know, you play with fire, you get burned. It's not like you're at a loss for sayings there. But I don't know. Orton better show up blind next week, at least for a while. And he's got, I don't know how you even do that though. Siren Goddess 034. I'm just glad we didn't have a Hogan spot with Bliss fumbling with the stuff to make a fireproof in Orton's face. Firepoof, sorry. Always love you guys. Keep up the great content. Jam that jam. Thank you.
Jam that jam. Thank you very much, Stone Goddess. I mean, that's the benefit of doing it as a pre-taped thing, right? Like you don't have the Hogan, oh no, it's live, pal, and I'm on pay-per-view and there's like 30,000 people here and I'm fumbling to get this. Oh no, I've burnt my mustache and my eyebrows. Like, yeah, you can pre-tape it, do it as many times as you want until you get it right.
Matthew Robinson, I don't think it was bad or good. I'm just tired of having a legend or someone in the ring and then they just Thanos away to do some Fiend thing. Why does this keep happening?
Ratings, Matthew. You need to get the legend on TV. It's how ratings happen.
Yeah, I think this idea is not bad, but it's just repetitive. It's the wrong people. It's that the story is told out of order. But maybe that's the main problem with it. Just do it better, as we used to say.
Oh yeah, the classic phrase of just do it better, WWE.
Sadie Lady 59. Welcome back, Luke. Hope you enjoyed your time off. Mr. Davis, Bliss isn't supernatural. She just got the firepower from the Mario series. Also, I can't believe Asuka has been a double champ for this long and they don't call her the Empress of Tomorrow. The number 2. That's very good.
That's good. Oh, that's very good. I mean, in all fairness, Sadie, like they'd have to register the fact she's the Raw Women's Champion in order to do that. And I think they have zero interest in doing that.
Alan Metz, hello guys. Thanks for making my Tuesdays and Thursday mornings better. I think Raw has Braun's tag team partner Nicholas writing the Fiend and Orton angle. I agree. Too much magic.
I mean, I did see someone in the comments say that they were 17 and they think it's stupid. So maybe it's not just a kid thing. Maybe it's just a personal preference thing.
Oh, but I think, 15 and above, that's my age. That's where my head is always at. It's
always 1999 up here.
It's your 11s and under, I reckon, that this is aimed at. Caleb Maldonado. Congratulations, your Bliss has learned the move Fire Blast, but she already knows 4 moves. Choose one to replace it.
Sparkle Splash, get rid of that, mate.
It's a Pokemon joke. Producer Rich has said in our private chat, so we need a water type to combat her next?
Who is a water type wrestling character?
Ooh, well, Bobby Splashley.
Of course. How can I forget?
Extinguish that fire immediately. Carol Ones, Trekkie 386. Hi, Carol. Hi, Luke and Ollie. Hope you are both well today. Raw was poor. Even a thrown together show should have been better. I really wanted to see Triple H versus Orton, but it was more of a nothing than a main event. Clickbait to get me to watch. Bliss and Orton stuff. Boo. Jam that jam.
It's a clickbait match. Like, I mean, I wrote in my notes, this match has got DQ written all over it because there's no way Triple H is just taking a pinfall when there's been no build to it whatsoever. And you're not going to beat Orton. Triple H is not beating Orton because that accomplishes nothing. But yeah, it was like totally stick around for the third hour. It's never going to happen, but please do stick around for that hour. Don't switch over and watch the football. Watch us instead.
Yeah, I'm terribly inconsistent with this sort of stuff and hypocritical. Because I remember saying about something very similar, like maybe it was Christian's comeback last year, where I was like, it obviously wasn't going to be a match. It was fine. Stop getting, because people were angry that there wasn't a legit match there. But this one, I was like, oh, that it?
Yeah.
I was a bit annoyed by it. So
when I saw how long of the show was left, I was like, oh yeah, this is even worse than I thought it was going to be. But like, in fairness, I suppose we'll talk about this when we get into the show. Triple H woke up yesterday morning not expecting to have a match. So like, this was, really thrown together at the very, very last minute. So yeah, exactly. He's wrestling in a t-shirt. What is that old wrestling adage? Always bring your gear. Come on, Trips. You've been in this business long enough, mate. Always bring your gear.
He needs a lot. He's not getting his body out if it hasn't had like 4 months of pre-work.
That's what I thought as well.
Yeah.
It's funny stuff, actually. Pete Gass, in his autobiography, Shane McMahon sort of invited him to be at the WrestleMania when he returns, like in the Hell in a Cell match against The Undertaker. And because he was always taught, always bring your gear, he brought gear just in case, because you never know. Maybe we need to get a Pete Gass run in.
Oh, love him even more. What a guy. Well, speaking of, let's get into the full show. Get your hyper chats to wrestletalk.com/support. We'll read out every single one of them before the end of the show. So we got an opening video package. What was your impressions of the video package, recapping the show you didn't see last week?
The legends were there, and it was exactly as I predicted that show was going to be. The legends show up, they say some stuff backstage, and we just move on. And like, it's nothing of substance. Like, it's literally just round of applause. Sergeant Slaughter is here, and it's just it's the world's most expensive cameo service.
Well, that's and Goldberg, of course.
Yeah,
Goldberg came back.
But Goldberg wasn't part of this video package. Like this, because Drew wasn't on this show, they didn't do the Goldberg stuff because the story of this night was Randy Triple H. So this was all about Randy Orton making fun of Mark Henry on a scooter.
Yeah, but like that storyline as you saw it play out. Did you hear about Goldberg's promo last week?
I listened to your podcast with Pete last week, so I heard that Goldberg cut a promo on Randy Orton, but thought he was talking, but he was actually talking to Drew McIntyre about how the fact he disrespected all the legends.
Yeah, and now Triple H is doing Goldberg's thing.
Okay, well, yeah, but Triple H's line was so Triple H is in this. He comes out for this announcement. There's no announcement because Randy Orton comes out. Like, I don't know what Triple H's announcement was going to be. We've never found out. And Triple H says to him, was like, I've watched you for 20 years. Like, I've been friends for 20 years. Like, I've watched your career grow. I brought you into, WWE essentially because they were part of Evolution together. Like, I know you. And when I saw you set the Fiend on fire, I've never been more proud of you. But then you made fun of Mark Henry, and that's taking things too far.
Yeah, it doesn't play right, does it? It's he killed a man, but you wanted I don't know, wasn't even for a title. He stood in your way.
And that was the rules of the match. Like, he killed a guy, but yeah, the rule of the match was to set a guy on fire. That's what he did.
Last minute. They wrote it at the last minute.
Yeah. Wasn't it something like they were still writing, like they were writing hours 2 and 3 of the show when hour 1 was like, that's Nitro like levels.
Yeah, something like that. Well, let's be fair. It's WWE levels right now. I think we can stop calling last minute rewrites Nitro. So Triple H came out to open the show. Big surprise. I felt like the Thunderdome crowd. They were like, oh, look, there's a louder button that we can press.
Thankfully, we've got this Triple H chant already, like Triple H, Triple H. And then he said, I've still got it.
Yeah, and then like AJ Styles is like, oh, hey, can I use that button? It's like, oh, no, it doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, sorry, no. That's where the main event starts.
So that was super loud. It was cool to see him, though. I thought it was... The payoff was a bit baiting, but this bit I was happily surprised to see Triple H. He's always a good talker. I enjoyed his promo, his interaction with Randy. And yeah, they set up the match later, and they weirdly tiptoed around the fact that Drew has COVID, or tested positive at least, by saying like, well, that match can't happen anymore. And I hadn't seen the news yet because I get up. Yeah, so I was like, what? And so I stopped and I searched. I was like, oh my God, this, Drew's tested positive. So I thought, okay, they're not going to address that Drew's got COVID. But then, later on, Drew said it right away in a in a direct-to-camera promo.
Yeah, so I saw the news last night and then saw that Drew was going to like make an announcement to the WWE Universe or whatever it was. But yeah, like so I knew that Triple H was going to open the show. But yeah, if you didn't see that story, that must have been like, why the hell is Triple H here? No wonder that pop was so huge. No one else saw this coming.
So just to skip ahead, because the Drew promo came later, I thought he came across so sincere, very, just a great champion. Like what a great person to represent your company in a very tough situation. Make that the cold open.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
right?
Yeah, no, I agree. And like he was, wear your masks, abide by social distancing rules. He was very, very smart about this, very sincere. Yeah, he is top draw, like an incredible champion and a brilliant, brilliant talent that he is.
So the rest of this segment, Randy tried to goad Triple H into giving a match tonight, and the only line, as usual, that could get Triple H to agree was, "Oh, sorry, you've got to go and get your balls from Stephanie's purse."
He must be. I mean, he's probably said it himself in 3 different promos, but like he must be the 10th person to use that line on Triple H to like goad him into a match. Like that it literally is the only thing. It's like, when you call someone a bitch in a promo, that's how you know the feud is serious. Like that is for Triple H, that's how you know it's serious now.
Yeah. Well, they had to, but very late in the day.
That's just going to be our every now and again. Like we're just going to go like, I mean, it was late in the day. Late in the day. What else could they do?
It was out of their hands. Totally out of their hands.
Mm-hmm.
After that, we got Charlotte Flair versus Lacey Evans. Now, last week, I was like...
sorry. It's Charlotte Flair. There was a super chat that came into Fightful that called her Marine Charlotte, Lacey Evans.
That is good. So last week, I thought, oh, Charlotte's turning heel on Ric because Ric made a kind of innocent mistake. It was an accident that he cost his daughter the victory. He was too horny. He was too horny.
He was too horny, I will give you that. But like when they showed the recap of this, like he quite clearly just tripped Charlotte. Like there was no confusion between her and Peyton Royce. He quite purposefully tripped Charlotte there because he was so horned up.
So that apparently was a botch. It was meant to come across a lot more accidental. Right now, they recorded this. And then Charlotte cut this huge promo on him. I was like, oh my God, I feel sorry for Ric. Because Charlotte's a natural heel and Ric's very good at, getting emotional.
And Ric's clearly a babyface because Randy Orton's picking on him.
Yeah, right. So either this was always the incomprehensible plan from the start, or they've changed course. Because Charlotte cuts a promo before being like, oh, it's all great. I can't stay mad at my dad. He's just a horny man. That's the way it is. And then Lacey Evans comes out. Blonde intensifies. They have a match. And Lacey wins because Ric just did 3 consecutive bits of interference.
Yeah. So like Charlotte had the match won from the natural selection, but like Ric puts her Lacey Evans's foot on the ropes, and then he trips Charlotte when she's doing the suplex, the old classic, and then holding down the feet so that they can't kick out. And then Lacey and Ric celebrate. And from what I gather, they're now going to be an on-screen act together. I don't know where Peyton Royce fits into all of this. Do you remember people keep saying that Peyton Royce is getting a push because like she pinned Bayley at Survivor Series, and then she pinned Charlotte last week. It was like, wow, she's getting a push. Like, wasn't on TV this week, and there was no mention of her whatsoever. This is very much about Lacey Evans now.
Yeah. Well, she dyed her hair purplish, and I thought
that was a mistake.
Go blonde. Mistake. Go blonde.
Well, she did that, and then she got a push off that. She won the tag titles when she went blonde, but now she's gone back to purple. Yeah, that was a mistake that she made.
So I thought this was pretty rubbish, and just like a bit. Ric Flair's 71. He had a heart attack a couple of years ago. Do you want him to be working weekly in an act on TV? Apparently that's the plan.
My bigger issue is that this completely undermines the whole Triple H Randy Orton thing. because Triple H is really, really mad that Randy Orton was mean to Ric Flair last week. You disrespected the legend of Ric Flair as one of the all-time greats. Like Triple H cuts this really fiery promo later on where he's like, "Yo, Rick doesn't care. Rick's banging Lacey Evans. He doesn't care. Like he's out here being like, I'm horny for Lacey Evans, but I'm going to bang her in the hotel room later on. And I'm tripping my daughter up on TV. He doesn't care that Randy was mean. So why is Triple H mad?
Yeah. Well, it was very late in the day. Sheamus tells Keith Lee that he's earned his respect after that great main event last week, and they sort of, form a little respect bromance. And Miz and Morrison come in, they're obnoxious. They set up a match for later. Jackson Riker takes on Jeff Hardy, beats him.
Before a minute. Oh God, no, you go.
Beats him in a minute. Jeff Hardy's like, "Oh, I bet I can beat Elias though, because Elias isn't as good as Jackson Riker," and he does. And that's it.
It was late in the day. It was late in the day. So the story of this segment was, it was supposed to be Jeff Hardy versus Elias, but Elias is injured, so Elias couldn't do the match. So Jackson Riker has the match instead. Jackson Riker can only win because Elias distracts Jeff Hardy. And then Jeff Hardy's like, I was supposed to fight Elias. I'll have a match with him now. Elias tells Jackson Riker, don't interfere for me. So he doesn't, and Jeff wins. Absolutely. And then they set up that there's some dissension between Elias and Jackson Riker because they've been together for 3 weeks now. Because Elias is like, why didn't you interfere for me? Time's ticking on these two as a team. Like it had to happen at some point, didn't it? So absolutely no one got over in this whatsoever. Everyone came out of this looking terrible.
Say it with me in the chat, everyone. It was very late in the day, though.
It was very late in the day, though, wasn't it?
But something I did enjoy, and I think this was my favorite thing on the entire show. I've seen people not like it, but I really liked it. And maybe it's because this story with Sheamus, Keith Lee, Drew McIntyre has been consistent. And it's been going on for months. So I feel like, Sheamus and Keith Lee had a match against Miz and Morrison. It was really fun. It was mostly to showcase Keith Lee. And Keith Lee, did you think that there was a spot where Keith Lee ran into the corner, charged on Morrison, top rope pinned off? Do you think that was a work?
I assumed it was because they used that to set up the commercial break. It'd be like if they'd have thrown them to the outside, that would have been like the Raw rolls on. Like it felt like it was the spot for the Raw rolls on bits. But it actually looked wicked. It looked so awesome because he just pounces him in this corner and the whole thing just goes like boom and just like shoots off and stuff. Morrison sells it like $1 million. Like Keith Lee's laughing and be like, "Oh, did you just see what I did?" And Sheamus is busting a gut laughing and be like, "That was so cool." This was far and away the best thing on the show. Like this one spot of the match was easily the best thing on the show.
Yet my only complaint is that's the finish. There's a really smart finish there where John Morrison can no longer hit his Starship Pain because the top rope's gone. Like you can get that great interplay, but I feel like it gets lost.
John Morrison's not a credible wrestler. Like he's not a credible character in this show. So them taking out one of his arsenal, that doesn't help matters. Like Miz and Morrison cut this promo on Keith and Sheamus being like, what happened the last time you teamed together? I was like, they beat you. Like, that's what happened the last time they did. Like, no, you argued and stuff. You never get along. I was like, the last 2 times they've teamed together, they've won. They won at Survivor Series, and then they beat you. They are an unstoppable team.
Yeah. So, I thought it was a very memorable spot, and it got lost in the structure of the match. But the finish, Sheamus sort of blind tags himself in, bro kick, he wins. Usually that would be dissension, but instead they laugh, they smile, they hug each other. Then I think it goes to Triple H formally accepts the challenge backstage. And then we go back to the ring and Sheamus and Keith Lee are fighting. Yeah. Like they've just started brawling. And I don't think that is inconsistent with their relationship. I felt like they were actually building up this idea that they're friends, but then they fight.
Yeah, and I agree with you. But it would have been nice to have seen that.
Yeah.
Because what we saw was them win. Like Sheamus blind tags himself in, and you're like, oh, okay, this is where you then set up the dissension between the two. I can't believe you guys did that. And then but then they're like, Keith Lee was cool with it. He was like, oh man, yeah, that was wicked because we won. So that's cool. And I'm really happy. And they hug afterwards, and they shake hands, this, that, and the other. Then we cut to the Triple H thing. Then we cut back, they're brawling. And I'm like, well, what happened? Where was the B part of this ABC story? If you'd have done it so like Keith Lee was not cool with it, and it was like an uneasy handshake, an uneasy hug, and then you show them brawling, then that's fine. Like that is a consistent story, right? I think that the reason for them to have the match completely makes sense, but the way that WWE presented it made it make no sense. Like their own incompetence made a storyline that makes sense make no sense.
Yeah, they just cut away at the wrong time. Like,
yeah,
yeah, I agree with that. But overall, I thought it was a net positive, and that's my benchmark right now. That the good just outweighs the bad on Raw.
Yeah, it was the best thing on the show, and I really enjoyed both of the matches. I thought Billy Miz and Morrison was great, and the singles match they had afterwards was also really, really good.
Worked over Keith Lee's arm, but Keith Lee fought through that to hit a spirit bomb to win. So yeah. Yeah, and that was, and then we got sort of like, and this happened quite a bit on the show, just chunky bits of replays because they were filling, I presume. We got another recap of last week's main event. Drew cut a promo on Goldberg, said he'll give Goldberg a lesson in respect, says Goldberg's next. Then Matt Riddle tells Lucha House Party that beating Bobby Lashley is going to be like unboxing a really tasty pizza.
Yeah, because he's Michelangelo. From the Turtles.
It was very late in the day. And then they said, this was the bit, I didn't care about that. But then Lucha House Party said, we'll have, watch your back to Matt Riddle. And Riddle goes, how can I, bro, look at my back. I can't. And I just thought, oh my God, that might have been the moment you jumped the shark for me. Because it's like, it's season 1 to 6 Joey versus later series Joey's, where he just becomes mentally incapacitated as a human.
Yeah, by the end of Friends, it's amazing that he can tie his own shoelaces together because like they present him to be like the world's biggest thicko. But like previously, he was just like, oh, he's not as smart as the other ones because the joke is he's an actor. But yeah, like he's Michelangelo. It's leftover concept that they had when Rob Van Dam came into WWF. Like Rob Van Dam's character in ECW was like, I am Mr. Pay-Per-View. I am, you pay money to watch me wrestle. But then he went to WWE and they're like, just say cool man, whatever. And that's your promo. And so like he just became a stoner guy. And that's what Riddle is now. He's Michelangelo. But like the worst Michelangelo. Not the good one from the 2012 reboot. Not the good one from the 2003 series, but like the annoying one from like the 87 cartoon. Like that's the Michelangelo we've got. No, actually, no, I'm gonna take that back. The Michelangelo that was in the 2003 87 crossover episode that they did which was really quite bad. That's the Michelangelo that he is.
Yeah, I think there's a consensus on that for all the people who know the various iterations of Michelangelo. So after that, we got Xavier Woods in rare singles action against Retribution's T-Bar. I was excited. I love Xavier Woods. I think he should be the United States champion at some point this year, especially now Kofi's injured, got a broken jaw, but Retribution's T-Bar beat him in a couple of minutes.
Yeah, Ali caused the distraction. T-Bar hit Feast Your Eyes or whatever they're calling it these days, and got the win. We've said this before, but like we got Donovan Dijak versus Xavier Woods on TV, and it goes 2 minutes, and it feels like nothing. That should feel like a really big time match and be really awesome, but it's nothing. And man, like T-Bar's inset promo, he's so rubbish. Like this Retribution thing is so stupid, and I know that people had desperate for this to be good because I get messages every single week being like, did you see Ali's promo on Raw Talk? Like, if they just put that on TV, this group could be cool. I'm like, that's not the group though, is it? Like, this group is a goofy, rubbish nonsense. And yeah, he just sounds so crap. And it's so hard to take them seriously. At least they didn't have a match with Ricochet, I guess.
Orton cut a promo about his new levels of hatred, and then we got that Matt Riddle match. Now, this might have been the thing I liked least on the show, because I think it's the biggest miss of potential. Matt Riddle versus Bobby Lashley. We've seen them wrestle in the ring last week and this week, and when they wrestle, they're good. Like, and they're different. They're different to everyone else because they're not finessed, but they are. They're totally in control of what they're doing, but it feels like they're throwing themselves at each other. It's violent. There's the sort of level of reckless violence that I really am drawn to between them. And there's the MMA background, of course, and the title and the Hurt Business. There's a lot to like here, but they have told this story completely ineffectively. Riddle cheated to win last week, which set up, and he's the babyface, which set up a title match against heel Bobby Lashley here. And then they just did everything in reverse. All of those traditional revenge babyface spots, Lashley did. All the heel things, Riddle did.
Yeah, so I listened to your podcast last week with Pete. I also listened to Sean and Denise's review. Now, Sean watches a lot of MMA, and he pointed out that what Riddle did, it's a really smart thing to do in an MMA environment, which is you make your opponent think that you've tapped out, so they release the hold. But you know that the referee isn't seeing you tap out, so it's a way for you to escape the hold without you actually having to escape the hold, right? So it's a way to sort of outsmart your opponent. But that's not the way they presented this on TV. They just said, like, no, he definitely tapped out and the referee didn't see it. And now Lashley's getting his revenge and just proving that he can beat him. Because, like, this match goes 2 minutes, if that, and Lashley just taps him out. And afterwards, Riddle's like, hey, MVP, I want a match with you. I'm like, why? It's MVP didn't cheat. MVP didn't interfere in the match. Why do you want to have a match with him? And then Lashley just spears him. So I guess this feud continues, but Lashley's already won. We've already seen him win.
Well, from what I remember, kind of similar to how Jeff Hardy challenged Elias, Riddle on the ground just tapped out to Lashley, said, let me have a fight with you, MVP. I can beat you.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my God, what a terrible way to present a babyface. That is the Miz. That's the Miz's spot where he's just been beaten by the babyface. And now he's like, well, I can beat you then. No, I can beat you, even though, like, they're not an active wrestler. I just thought, and I really want Riddle to succeed because I think he's tremendously talented. And they had something for a while, despite themselves. They had it, but now this is ruined. Like, this was a point of beyond repair. Riddle can't really go for the US Championship in any serious way now. The matches are going to be decent if they don't get marred by a ridiculous finish or stupidly tight time constraints. But really, like, all of the fire and intrigue is gone.
But the feud will continue. I mean, you told me not just 4 weeks ago that the Elias Jeff Hardy storyline is done and they're definitely not feuding anymore. And then I'm tuned in to watch this show and they're still feuding.
Yeah, but, it was late in the day. Adam Pearce, definitely not an authority figure, booked a qualifying match for the Royal Rumble.
Right. So this segment here, AJ Styles and Adam Pearce are backstage. And AJ's like, dude, you could win the Universal Championship from Roman Reigns. I'm going to win the Royal Rumble and we'll have a match at WrestleMania. Won't that be a grand old time? And then Drew Gulak walks up and says, I want to declare myself for the Royal Rumble. And Adam Pearce says, well, you can't. You can't just declare yourself for the Rumble. And Drew points at AJ and says, but he did. And then, not 2 segments later, Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke said, we declare ourselves for the Royal Rumble. So can you or can you not? Like, have you got to prove yourself or can you just say that you are?
It's like they're working it out as they go.
It was late in the day.
It was late in the day, yeah. So Pierce booked that match. We got it next. AJ Styles versus Drew Gulak. The stuff they did do was incredibly watchable. And Styles won in 2 minutes because Omos is just too big. So
too
big. He distracts people purely by standing there.
Yeah, I mean, he walked up to Drew Gulak while he was on the ground, and it distracted him.
I do think they've done a great job presenting Omos, though. So it would be nice to see him do something eventually. We got a recap of Goldberg's career. This felt like filler. Then we got Keith Lee saying he'll be there for Triple H later on. Tripp says, no, I want to do this alone. That was a nice way to bump up Keith Lee. And then we got Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler taking on Dana Brooke and Mandy Rose.
Yeah, which had the exact same finish of the Keith Lee Sheamus tag match earlier in the night, where Nia Jax has the match won, Shayna Baszler tags herself in, and she locks in the Kirifuda clutch to get the win. And there's now dissension between these teams because, she said, you've only got so long to be a tag team, so you've got to split these guys up.
Yeah, I thought this was... The women's division has gone from one of the best things in WWE to just total rubbish. Well, on Raw at least.
Absolutely on Raw, it's really, really bad, and like this is a great example of why it's bad, because but they keep building these Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke matches against Jackson Baszler, and Jackson Baszler just keep winning easily. Yeah, so it's not like I'm wanting to see them finally get the win over them. I'm just like, why are we still having this feud? And then because they declared themselves to the Rumble earlier as well, I'm like, well, I don't think you're winning the Rumble.
It doesn't help that they have negative chemistry together. Because Mandy Rose visibly doesn't want to be in this team. God. I just stand there and this will convince them that we like each other.
We've both got arms.
I'm not thinking about Sonya Deville right now. Oh, we were a good team. Oh, we did good things on SmackDown. They also had the shoehorned pop culture reference of the week when they said they'll toss people out harder than Kim Kardashian tossed Kanye West to the curb.
Is that a thing that happened?
They're breaking up, Luke.
I didn't know they were together.
Kim Kardashian and Kanye West.
Didn't they break up years ago?
No. They got together years ago.
Oh, okay.
They've been an A-list couple for ages, and now they're breaking up. It's by the by, this was a crap joke, and it would have been dropped in any self-respecting opening monologue to a late-night talk show.
Do you think they were hoping that Kim Kardashian would tweet about them like Cardi B did last week?
Potentially, yeah. Yeah, because that didn't blow up in your face.
Overall, Lacey Evans to ruin it for us all.
Overall, I thought I'm not going to give it the lowest rating because it doesn't deserve the lowest rating, even without the extenuating circumstances. But it was boring. I thought it really damaged Riddle. I wasn't a fan of the main event angle. The only thing I actually liked and properly enjoyed was Keith Lee and Sheamus, and even that wasn't perfect.
Yeah, so I had to get up at 5:30 this morning because I have another podcast outside of this I do in my personal time, and the episode had to go up live at 6:30. So I wanted to get up at 5:30 to get the edit finished so it could go up. And I was actually quite stressed out because I hadn't finished the edit, I hadn't uploaded it, and I got it finished at 6:15. So then I had the render time out for it, and I got it loaded onto the Patreon at 6:25. It was so close to the live date that Patreon wouldn't let me schedule the post. I had to just push it live when it hit 6:30. I had more fun doing that than I did watching Raw. It was a long, long show, and I did not enjoy a lot of it.
Well, let's see what you guys thought in the Hyper Chats very shortly. But first, a big thank you to our wonderful $25 a month or more pledge hammers on Patreon. You get loads of exclusive content over there. Luke and I will be reviewing a pay-per-view, a classic pay-per-view of your choice. The vote is now open on Patreon.
Oh, do you want a live update?
Let's have a live update.
Okay, let's see where it is. Because there were some really good suggestions this month. Obviously, a lot of Royal Rumble suggestions, but some really good Rumbles in there. Let's see. The poll is loading. Come on, Patreon. Aha. So currently leading the charge is Royal Rumble 2010. which is the Edge big return, the other big Edge return.
Oh.
In second place at the moment, so that's got 27% of the vote. In second place with 23% of the vote is Wrestle Kingdom 11.
Oh, damn. Good
Yeah.
show.
Yeah. So that is very, very interesting. That's with Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly, Takahashi Kushida. Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, so go over to Patreon, get your votes in there. And thank you to these folks who give $25 a month or more. Spoke in class today, Jeremy Smith.
Very nice. Pearl Jam. ... Dive, Dylan Cachetta.
Thank you, Dylan. Intense, Frank Campos. Cheap pops these.
Woo. Michael Plowman. That's his name. That name again is Michael Plowman. Woo.
You know, I asked Rich last week if instead we can change this bit to have the Hall of Fame music playing under, as we say it. But we'll just, say, oh, he's just messaged. Has he done it? He didn't do it. Copyright. Damn it! Can you find one on our sound library that sounds similar? The man who wears the gold, the man recognized by Swaft Nation International as the 24/7 champion, our legend.
Nice. Golden Nick Holden.
Yes. Pick him up, Loot Sponge.
Yes. My Immortal is my favorite song. Mashy. Good for you.
The notorious Aliata.
The good bad guy, Bryant Heath.
Black and Decker Dane.
Oh, love a Black and Decker. And lastly, timely because One Division starts this week, The Vision, Adonis.
I know. I'm really excited. I cannot wait.
They're putting up 2 episodes on Friday.
So it's only 2 episodes and then it's weekly.
Yeah. I know. It's like the old days of us having to wait for content.
Right. So let's get into our hyper chats. Last call, WrestleTalk.com/support. I'll let you take things off because this is one for you.
Yes, because they said that you won't understand it. Alexa Bliss is now a sorcerer. She cast Firebolt for 1d10 damage.
Nerd jokes. They get me every time.
Yes, some D&D. Do you want me to carry on? Yes. Reese Johnson, good afternoon, lads. Well, Raw was rubbish, although I'm happy they seem to be pushing Keith Lee. Let's hope they keep that up and he goes on to win the Rumble. Hope he then challenges Roman Reigns and is the guys that beat him at Mania. Hope you're both well. Jam that jam.
I love the idea of pushing Keith. I think stick on the same brand. I think the story is quite there for Keith versus Drew.
Matthew Robinson, until he passed him the jacket, I did love Keith Lee Triple H interaction. Love NXT guys having Triple H's back. It did honestly feel like he's like, can I go home actually? Can I go back with you guys? Like when you're done here, can I go back to Tampa? We'll share a cab. The Jam one, Ryan B. Jam. This Raw was a piss poor show. There was nothing good about it other than Keith Lee and Sheamus tag in the follow-up singles match, but even that was done in such an annoying way as they never showed what happened during the commercial break. Peter Mullen says, sounds like most of the reactions were saying how gross the Lacey Rick Big Shaz angle is. If you're trying to get the female demo, having a 71-year-old trying to bump nasties with Lacey during a COVID outbreak over caring about his daughter is not the way.
I think those two things are separate. I don't actually have any problem with the Rick Lacey thing. I think that's quite a good heel act. I think it's just irresponsible because of the pandemic.
It is weird, though, because this time last year, she was like the all-American mother, babyface going up against Bayley.
It was
the Jan one, Ryan B. Jan. I said this last night to SRS and Denise, but Lacey Evans, Ric Flair, and Charlotte Flair storyline is like a retread of the Tori Wilson, Dawn Marie storyline, but it's on Rusev and Mike Cucking storyline levels of terrible.
Oh, well, I didn't think it was that bad. I thought it was rubbish, but I wasn't offended like some people are.
Absolutely not. I'm going to hot tag to you.
Matthew Robinson, if you have time, why not give Shayna and Nia more time? Or I am sure there is a wrestler in the back that you could make it interesting and possibly build someone new. So rather than people doing double duty.
Yeah, as I said, like you could have just given Lashley and Riddle plenty of time. You could have given like Gulak and Styles, or not exactly like two slouches. You mean like you don't want to give them 20 minutes? They'll blow themselves up.
Peter Mullins, paper feud. The card is Triple H, Orton, Ric Flair, MVP, Jeff Hardy, Miz, Morrison. Name that year. 2002. Nope. 2007. Nope. 2021. Well, glad we're building new stars, I guess.
Oh man,
that's Peter.
That's quite a sad little thing, isn't it? Bloody hell.
Matthew Robinson. I wonder if Drew made the call to make the COVID announcement. It does seem like a classy thing that it feels more Drew than it does WWE, definitely.
Well, absolutely, because apparently, like there are other people that have tested positive, but they've only named Drew, and he's the first person they've named as well. Like 100%, I think I agree with Matthew on that one. I think that's definitely a Drew call.
Wrestling Talk sign guy. I'm watching the review, and we'll catch up on this later. Oh, I've got a delivery. That's what that bell noise.
What you get delivered?
I don't know. I just keep coming. It's relentless. I got loads of Farrah shirts delivered today, and I was like,
Farrah's making shirts.
Yeah, and I was like,
on them.
When did I order these? And when am I going to wear them? I don't go out the house. I'm watching the review. We'll catch up later. But regarding WWE announcing Drew has Steve Corino, in the US, a company can say someone has it, but not who. According to medical laws, Drew must have directly given consent to release that.
Yeah, but WWE are not a typical US company, are they? There's a lot of things the US say a company should do that WWE do not do.
Yeah, they kind of did the reverse, where they specifically banned people from talking about it to the press.
Yeah,
reportedly. DX Solo, hey! Triple H is one of my faves, but it's getting harder and harder to get excited when he has a match. I think maybe End of an Era was his last good one. Been using you lot to keep up with WWE while watching AEW, but I'm looking forward to the Rumble. Jam that jam.
Jam that jam. It could be argued that that's the same with Taker as well. I think, the Punk match after the year after was really great as well. But like End of an Era, the Hell in a Cell match with Triple H is like an all-time great. So yeah, so I agree completely.
Bacon Rasher. Hi, lads. Firstly, I want to say thanks for all the support last Thursday. WrestleTalk and SWAF Nation rule. Yeah, if you didn't see that, Luke, poor Bacon Rasher lost someone due to COVID over Christmas. I'm 36 and have watched WWE for years, but Raw has been a hot mess for so long, I don't think COVID can be blamed. This was a terrible, clunky show. Jam that jam.
I was watching the news this morning, and there are people who are still talking about this thing as if it's only been 2 weeks. So like we're still figuring it out. It's been a year. Like I think we pretty much know by now.
Matthew Robinson. For all the times they have torn up the script last minute, you think they could do a show last minute with ease, but I guess it was too late in the day. Peter Mullins. Credit to Fightful for this one. Jeff Elias Jackson Riker from the company that brought you 50-50 booking. 33-33-33 booking. Somehow even worse.
Was pretty great.
Hey, if Elias then beat Riker, it would be. But Riker's technically at the top of that heap. Pavipants. I really want Goldberg to go insane from so much responsibility on his shoulders, being a superhero, etc. BS. And Drew beats him passing the torch, finally letting Goldberg rest.
I mean, so I haven't actually given my thoughts on the Goldberg Rumble match. But yeah, I can totally see Goldberg winning and them setting up him versus Randy Orton for the title at WrestleMania. God. Alternatively, Drew retains and you still do Goldberg. Because like if Goldberg's whole deal is about like disrespecting legends, then surely you're going after Orton, right? Like you cut a promo on him last week.
Dragon Death Cab. Welcome back, Luke. Hope your time off was relaxing. Raw is completely non-essential. SmackDown, NXT, AEW, and Impact all have television that's compelling enough to want to come back and watch, but you can skip 3 weeks here and nothing is missed.
I mean, case in point, I missed 2 weeks of this show, and honestly, it felt like I didn't miss anything at all.
Goldberg came back. Matthew Robinson. Luke, you must understand they don't have enough women, so they all must declare for the Royal Rumble. Drew needs to prove it. He can't declare. Next thing he would be winning. All right. Next thing he would be winning a title. LOL.
Well, is there like a list of people that have announced themselves to the Rumble? Because I feel like everyone and their mother has announced themselves to the Rumble, but Drew Gulak's the only one who's been given this proviso of you must prove yourself in order to get into the Rumble.
Probably. Kevin, I don't think I watched a full episode of Raw since the summer. If they're not invested in giving us a good show, why would I care?
Great point. A great point.
Nate Foltz, incoming from Keynes, Knox County. Good luck in the UK. We're about to have a civil war. Keith Lee is winning the Rumble, and he will challenge Roman. I must admit, I think the United States TV shows jumped the shark recently. I think it's really... I don't believe the stuff that's happening anymore.
Well, I mean, ratings were a bit down, after the end of season. So like they had to do something pretty wild to start the new season, and I think they've done something
for a bit.
Yeah, maybe.
Our hot tag to you for the final run.
Indeed. So these are last chats coming in. Weasley65. While I enjoyed the fireball spot, this question isn't about Raw. Is there any chance that we could at least get NXT polls on Twitter on Wednesday nights and then maybe a mention on the Thursday show? Not a proper review for NXT, just a poll on Twitter.
Maybe, but then we just run the risk of... I'm pretty set in the ways that we're doing it currently for the AEW NXT split. It's just going to... There's no good way to do it, unfortunately. And my knee-jerk reaction to your suggestion is that it's just going to create people comparing NXT to AEW.
And also, I don't want to be a stick in the mud or spoil anything for you, but it will just get good like that. Everyone will just vote for it being good because this week's Raw was voted good by the faithful who are watching us.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, we could see how. Yeah, I'll make a note of it.
Zachary Jenkins, I finally convinced my best friend to watch a match, and so I picked Lee versus Dijak at TakeOver Portland. He popped for all the spots, and at the end, he was like, I love this Keith Lee.
Yeah.
Keith Lee's great. Kevin says, Bucks and Omega will come out to different entrance tunnels for their trio match. Will this play into something?
Ooh. Yeah, no, I was excited.
Ewan Price says, sorry, non-WWE question, but as I'm a key worker, I can't always watch the AEW podcast review. But what do you think of the idea of TK being in Moxley's corner against Omega, or TK helping Moxley to retain the title back? Love Omega, but Moxley is too good.
No. I don't want Tony Khan to be an on-screen character. I don't know about you.
No, I agree. And I don't think if it kind of undermines the Moxley character if he's then needing Tony Khan's help to win the belt back. Charles Berg says, Ollie, I'll be honest, I'm a bit upset with you disrespecting my palate. For the record, if I want chocolate, I go to La Maison du Chocolat or Newhouse. I also make delicious food. I'll send you some pictures if you need proof. Some people eat to live. I live to eat. Was this in response to you saying that Hershey's chocolate is disgusting? Because it is.
It's got a vomit aftertaste. But I said... That's nostalgia. It's just you don't recognize how bad it is. That's not your fault, Charles.
But no, there's also there was a scientific test that was done to say that if you are not from the US, Hershey's taste like vomit because Americans' taste buds have been just warped by all the GM and the products and stuff that they inject into their food. Dylan Haggett says,
you sounded a bit like Alan Partridge in that episode where he's talking about the 12-foot tall chickens. I'm pretty sure. I was going to say I'm pretty sure there's some chemical substance in Hershey's chocolate that is shared in vomit. It's something to do with the way it smells and tastes, as opposed to
what I said.
People being pumped full of chemicals.
Oh, I mean, how else could the Americans not taste that bit? And I mean, Denise sent me a load of stuff from America. You read those labels, man. It's letters and numbers, and that is all that's on there. Dylan Haggett, hey guys, love the channel. Any chance we could see WrestleTalk collaborate with the AEW with the AE podcast? Also, when Ollie getting on going in Raw's match chat. You ever been invited on to go enter a match chat?
I haven't been invited.
Oh, I got invited. So I guess you'll just have to sit and wait and see if you get an invite.
With the podcast, that'd be great. That'd
be so good. Yeah. I love the AE podcast. It's one of my favorite shows. It's so great. It's my new favorite thing at the moment is Kevin's impression of old Vince McMahon. Current day Vince McMahon is like, Tiki's, he does awaken. Tiki's, thank you for making my mornings. Your channel and podcast is what I listen to on my commute to work. Much love and hugs from Tina in Seattle.
Thank you, Tina from Seattle.
Thank you.
That's very kind of you to say.
Raffman says, Mr. Davis, could you please tell us something about the novel you're writing? Like something about the plot? Thanks. Dude, I heard that you finished the first draft, man. Congratulations.
Oh, right, that one.
It was getting a bit too close to the wire. I did wonder if you were going to get it finished.
3 days before the end of the new year. So that one, it's what's the easiest way to sum it up? Elevator pitch. Should have worked on this. It's like Willy Wonka had a tech smart society, and someone goes in there. Someone's an internet troll hunter. They're looking for a troll, and it takes them to sort of Elon Musk style fantasy land.
I've known Ollie for a long time, and he's talked about this book for quite some time, and I've heard lots of various different bits about it. But I cannot tell you how excited I am to actually finally read it.
Thank you.
I'm really stoked for it, and that's made me even more excited. And lastly, from Dylan Haggett, who says, "Hey guys, pick 5 wrestlers each that you'd have as Retribution members with Ali." I'll go. Dijak, Dion Madden, Mia Yim, Ali, and Shane Thorne, and I'd present them as a cool faction.
Pick 5 wrestlers each that you'd have. So more people to join Retribution.
Well, but I think what Dylan's asking is like just sort of pick 5 wrestlers that you would have in Retribution. But like, so if they've got to be as part of this current Retribution, then I don't want to pick anyone because I wouldn't wish that upon anyone to be part of because it's a death group to be in.
You know what? You could just screw it, Miz. Right, just put the people who are clogging up the main event at the moment. Braun Strowman. Who else is sort of Charlotte Flair,
Lacey Evans,
Nia Jax.
Nia Jax. Yeah, there you go.
Well, thank you everyone ever so much for joining us on today's Raw stream. We'll get through these bad, terrible shows together. Go and watch the WrestleTalk news from earlier today. It's not just got my Raw review, which you've kind of already heard. It's also got a lot more on this COVID outbreak, not just in WWE, but it seems to have spread to Impact, AEW. Yeah, it's going to be a rough couple of weeks, especially with Hard to Kill, the big Impact pay-per-view this weekend. So go over there and watch that. Also, smash that subscribe button, and we'll see you here on Thursday for the AEW podcast. I've been Mr. Davis. That's been Lukewarm Luke Owen. Jam that jam.
Jam that jam, everyone. Let's go get the title.